as women, we have to work 10 times harder. We got to be smarter. We got to play the game to even get our foot in the door sometimes. Can you tell the daddy gang
Yeah.
when people tell you no, when people look at you and doubt you, what does that ignite in you?
So I've been told that many times. And through the course of my career, I've been told, at one point, you're too young. I've been told, oh, nobody like you has ever done that before. Oh, they're not ready for you. Oh, and this is the one that kills me. Oh, it's going to be a lot of hard work, right? As though we don't like hard work. And here's my response. I don't hear no. I don't hear no. And I urge all the daddy gang, don't hear no.
Kamala Harris is the latest guest for Call Her Daddy. Ahead of the 2024 presidential election, which is less than a month away, the vice president sat down with Alex Cooper for the October 6th episode of her popular podcast, Call Her Daddy. The two women discussed a variety of topics, from reproductive rights in the United States to the Democratic nominee's late mother's influence to her former career as a prosecutor, as well as her reactions to personal attacks by her opponent where her identity and character have been called into question. Before the interview began, Alex addressed her listeners, acknowledging that she knows their political views are mixed, but said she felt that she had to engage in the important dialogue. She then added that she invited former President Trump to come on the show to also have a meaningful conversation about women's rights.
I will be honest. I had been going back and forth with this decision for a while. To get involved or to not get involved. But at the end of the day, I couldn't see a world in which one of the main conversations in this election is women, and I'm not a part of it. I am so aware I have a very mixed audience when it comes to politics, so please hear me when I say my goal today is not to change your political affiliation. What I'm hoping is that you're able to listen to a conversation that isn't too different than the ones that we're having here every week. I want to be so clear, since this isn't a one-sided conversation, we reached out to former President Donald Trump to come on the show. If he also wants to have a meaningful, in-depth conversation about women's rights in this country, then he is welcome on Call Her Daddy anytime.
The episode kicked off with Alex asking the vice president about her late mother and what values she instilled in her.
Well, similar to what you described about your mother, my mother definitely impressed upon us the importance of us being able to express how we were feeling. And a lot of it, I think, was also about her teaching us that we had agency. And so that things don't just happen to you. And so think about how you were feeling, not just as a way to dump, but also as a way to kind of figure out where you are in a moment, right? And center yourself. I mean, to your point, when I got older, like when I was in, late teens, my 20s, if I came home with a problem, I'm telling you, every time if I came home with a problem, the first thing my mother would do is she would look at me, like other mothers, I believe, were hugging their kids and like, oh, honey, what can I do? And my mother, the first thing, what did you do? But here's the thing that I realized. She was actually teaching me, think about where you had agency in that moment. And think about what you had the choice to do or not do. And don't let things just happen to you. And I realized that was a really powerful thing she was teaching, which is figure out how you can take charge of a moment.
Yeah.
You can't always. We don't have control of everything, obviously. But don't just let things happen to you without thinking about, okay, what can I do in this moment?
The podcast host later brought up personal attacks made by Trump, asking Harris how she feels about them.
Your identity has been called into question many times. Your opponent has called you crazy, weak, fake, and dumb. How does that affect you?
I think it's really important not to let other people define you. And usually those people who will attempt to do it don't know you.
The two women also spoke at length about abortion access in the country at this moment.
The majority of women who receive abortion care are mothers. So if she's in a state, and by the way, every state in the South, except for Virginia, has an abortion ban, okay? So imagine she's in a state with an abortion ban. 1 out of 3 women are, by the way, in our country. And she's a mom. So she's going to have to figure out, one, God help her if she has affordable childcare. God help her if she has paid leave. And then she's going to have to go to the airport, stand in a TSA line, sit on a plane next to a perfect stranger to go to a city where she's never been to receive the care she needs. She's going to probably have to get right back on that plane because she's got those kids. Her best friend's probably not with her because that's who's taking care of the kids. To get back in that TSA line, to get back on a plane, to go home.
And that's all if they can even afford the plane ticket or the bus ticket.
Exactly.
Harris also revealed that she was the first vice president to ever in office go to a reproductive health care clinic.
I was the first vice president or president to ever in office go to a reproductive health care clinic, ever.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that, but I guess that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. To your point.
And yet the men are making the decisions about our bodies.
And here's the other thing about this point, it's about IVF treatments and access. It's about access to contraception, which is very much at risk with these folks. It is about, back to the point about reproductive health clinics. You know what those clinics also do? They do PAPs. They do breast cancer screenings. They do HIV testing. And they're having to close in many places with these bans. So think about the fact that for anyone who has gone to one of these clinics, you understand that it is sometimes the most trusted place where people receive that kind of health care because they walk into those places that are generally staffed by people who create a safe place for people to come in without judgment.
Though Vice President Harris has 2 stepchildren, who she refers to as her children, Alex asked the Democratic nominee about criticisms from other politicians regarding that aspect of her life.
There has been a very big fixation on biological children, stepchildren, women that have children versus women that don't have children. It's like a huge point somehow of this entire election, right? I saw the governor of Arkansas said, "My kids keep me humble." Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble. How did that make you feel?
I don't think she understands that there are a whole lot of women out here who, one, are not aspiring to be humble. 2, a whole lot of women out here who have a lot of love in their life, family in their life, and children in their life. And I think it's really important for women to lift each other up. You know, I'll tell you, Alex, one of the things that I have really enjoyed about where the discussion has gone, one of the places it's gone, we have our family by blood, and then we have our family by love. And I have both. And I consider it to be a real blessing. And I have 2 beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me Mamala. We have a very modern family. My husband's ex-wife is a friend of mine.
Alex then asked the VP about J.D. Vance's viral Childless cat lady remark from a 2021 interview he did, which Taylor Swift notably used when she signed off in her endorsement post for Harris.
I know that we all saw, obviously, Taylor Swift's sign out on her Instagram, and I wanted to address Donald Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, called women who don't have kids childless cat ladies. What message do you think this sends to women who cannot conceive or just don't want kids?
I just think it's mean and mean-spirited. And I think that most Americans want leaders who understand that the measure of their strength is not based on who you beat down. The real measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up.
At the end of the interview, Alex asked Vice President Harris why people should trust her.
You can look at my career to know what I care about. I care about making sure that people are entitled to and receive the freedoms that they are due. I care about lifting people up and making sure that you are protected from harm. I care about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations of people, knowing that we are capable of so much, but you can't grow the strength of our country if you underestimate the capacity of each person, right? Which is why another thing that I'm really focused on is small businesses and startups, and giving startups a $50,000 tax deduction, because right now it's $5,000 and you can't start up any small business with $5,000. But the bottom line is this: I believe in the promise of America. I have not been able to be the first in every position that I've had, were it not for the promise of America. I believe in our country. I love our country. And I believe that leadership has to be about knowing our capacity and then investing in the people. Because lifting up each person that we do is about lifting up the whole.